So, Jesus is walking along, surrounded by a crowd. And in the crowd is this blind man named Barnabas, calling out, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And all the crowd around Barnabas say to him, "Shut up. He's not interested in you. We're not interested in you." But Jesus stands still and says, "Call him to me." And then the crowd around Barnabas starts saying, "Get up, old fellow. Take heart. He's calling you." And by the way, isn't it something how a good leader can turn around a mob just by what he says, by what he chooses to name as important? Just saying. So Barnabas comes to Jesus, and Jesus says, "What can I do for you? What do you want?" And he says, "Let me see again." Interesting, by the way, isn't it? Let me see again. His faith restores his sight, and seeing Jesus, he follows him. And so I wonder, what does Bartimaeus see? What is it that he sees that makes him follow Jesus? Maybe Job can help us out a bit with this, because Job too is someone who, metaphorically at least, was blind and now can see. You all know the story of Job probably. How Job was righteous, he always did the right thing, he made all the sacrifices, he made extra sacrifices, he paid alms, he was the leader of the synagogue, blah, blah, blah. And then he's suddenly visited with horrendous misfortune. Even his children are taken from him. And so Job complains bitterly. God is just. God better have an explanation for all this. And then God shows up. And God says, basically, "Who are you to complain? I'm God." And Job says, "Yeah, you're right." End of story, basically. And the moral of the story is, God is God, you're not. Don't tick him off. Right? Or is that really what Job says to, what God says to Job? If you read the last few chapters of Job, actually, I highly recommend that you just read the book of Job. It's really beautiful, and fascinating, and always relevant. But if you look closely at the end there, where God shows up in the whirlwind, what happens is God takes Job on a tour of the wildness of creation. It's a celebration of wildness. And he shows Job all these creatures that, from a human perspective, are useless and dangerous, if also beautiful. And he shows that God loves them all extravagantly. God just loves the whole thing with abandon. In this arid land that they live in, God pours out rain on the wasteland, on what, to a human perspective, is wasteland. God just delights in the whole thing. God loves the birthing, loves the living, loves the dying. This revelation turns Job inside out. And we're told that he repents in dust and ashes. This is actually one of those places, though, where a small mistranslation makes a big difference. What it really says is he repents of dust and ash. Job realizes that being righteous, being pious, is not going to save his soul. That God is too extravagant to be controlled that way. And so Job gets back into life, into living life. Job and his wife go and have 10 children, knowing full well that the roof could fall in on them and God might not stop it. What a profound, crazy gesture this is, to bring life into the world again, knowing how wild it can be. And in this patriarchal patriarchal society, it's only the daughters that the text dwells on and names them, gives them beautiful names. Jemima means dove. Keziah means cinnamon. And the other unpronounceable one means horn of antinomy, which could mean something like the bounty of paradox. What Job sees, what changes Job, is God's joy, God's sheer delight, not in response to good behavior, not limited by anything. God's joy just because. Because God is joy, is life, is love. Barnabas sees Jesus and is changed. And what does he see? Do you ever picture looking at Jesus' face? What do you see in Jesus' face if you look at him? Some sorrow, perhaps. Kindness, concern, even flashes of anger. But maybe what dances in those eyes more than anything is joy. You've seen before. You may not remember it now. Might not be so sure now. But pray to see again. Amen.